I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry is probably the most demeaning film since Song of the South. And while Song of the South never got the light of day to contemporary moviegoers, I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry vows to keep the blatant stereotyping and insensitivity to the highest degree possible. This will also be Dennis Doggin's third outing with Adam Sandler. This ultimately ties the nauseating knot with Happy Gilmore Productions, and ever since then he's made 4 films with Adam Sandler in the last 5 years. Talk about a lot of shit. So, what makes a potentially uplifting idea so goddamn awful? Well, for starters, the casting is completely batshit, to say the least, and this has been going on ever since they originally conceptualized the idea, suggesting that possibly Nicolas Cage would play a role in that. Oh boy. The story falls flat on itself, and ultimately the whole attempted point of the film is muddled with things, well, like this.
You've just been having sex with each other all the time.
Loads of sex.
Gay, crazy sex.
Man on man. Loving every minute of it.
Balls and wieners all the way, right here.
The movie becomes less of a sympathetic outcry for equality in America, but a racially charged, homophobic-coded mess that steps on both the toes of the target audience and the potential supporters. This is less about changing social aspects of the world, but cloaking it in even more ignorance. And we can all, well, blame this man. Now, before we jump into this shit, let's learn a little bit about the man that is Adam Sandler. Adam Sandler is possibly the most egotistical man in contemporary Hollywood. And while men like George Clooney and Brad Pitt take effort and possibly some pride in their work, I'm not saying they do this all the time. Adam Sandler has worsened with age. This normally doesn't happen. It's called progression, you fucking idiot. And while the novelty of fart jokes and the openness of mocking mentally handicapped people died off in the 90s, Sandler has somehow managed to retain this in his films, generate a profit, and still mold a fan base. And this continues every year. And for those who think that cinema is some form of art, fuck you! Adam Sandler has proudly gone balls out to say fuck you to the most fundamentalist moviegoer. Instead of creating anything substantial, he pushes to keep films in a primitive plight, and the idiots still indulge. What's wrong with you people? You should be ashamed. Then again, maybe it's not the people's fault. I mean, in a society that openly embraces things like Family Guy, American Idol, and Transformers, we've committed ourselves to mental seppuku. And when people refuse to watch something simply because it's shot in black and white, we have a problem. Yes, it might be pretentious to believe in such things, but the sad fact is that if you look at the box office, seldom do you see anything remotely original. Maybe we just ran out of ideas. Maybe it's just a potential thought. But I'm really getting away from the point, but the sad fact is that we're all fucking idiots. To understand the Adam Sandler films, he has a very basic formula. Being that I've seen a couple of his films, I can give you pretty much the formula. First off, you'll see that there's plenty of product placement. It becomes so ridiculous and in your face that it cannot be ignored. This film is no different, and while Red Letter Media has clearly stated about how Jack and Jill did that, I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry has done pretty damn well in making a lot of product placement. Next, Sandler is almost portrayed as a man of power. If he's an architect, hockey player, Hollywood agent, fucking son of the devil, Sandler is always a chick magnet and he always comes out on top. Now, there's nothing wrong with a good guy winning, but almost all his films he's already at the top, and no films from what I've seen at least, he's no more than just a fucking asshole. Who wants to root with the guy that has no consequences for his actions, especially when he does things like this?
Darling, what's the matter with you? You sound so upset.
You slept with my twin sister on Saturday. That's why I'm so upset.
How do you know for sure it wasn't you?
Because I wasn't there.
It sure looked like you were there to me.
And finally, to top the formula off, you had plenty of jokes at the expense of other people, and those especially that are less fortunate. It could also result in injury, death, or misery, to say the least of the supporting cast. Sandler is king in his own little universe, but I have to ask, ladies, would you really want to sleep next to this man? Or better yet, this man? Sandler and his friends seem to feed off each other like parasites. They need nice titles and are casted as kings in this universe where everything revolves around them. It's almost like they need a constant ego boost. I mean, I know how it is, guys. But do you really need to be at your best at all times? The audience wants to see dynamics, not the same old shit. I don't, at least. And dynamics? Shit, are you kidding me? Almost every single movie released by these fucking people have little or no plot whatsoever. And there's no consequences at all, to say the least. This leaves the films boring, and most importantly, predictable. Movies shouldn't be by the book. It should be captivating and fascinate people. Modern directors looked up to Star Wars, The Shining, Blue Velvet, The Godfather, all these things. Do we really need a next tier of directors remember such classics like Grown Ups? Or just go with it? It's all fucking bullshit. I guess it's about time to actually get to the point, right? I guess. So right off the fucking bat, we're introduced to Sandler's character, Chuck, who's probably one of the biggest chauvinists I've seen in a long time. He makes Marv look like Ryan Gosling's character in Little Black Book. From his slimy, drawn-out Brooklyn accent to his personality, we can tell that we're not going to like this character. We especially despise him when he tries to weasel his way out of a situation in which he cheated on a woman with her sister, of all people. Of course, they do a little logical thinking and everything, and they start listening to Sandler. This results in a weird, incestuous scene where they are about to make out with each other. And just to keep this pig satisfied, really? Thankfully, we're removed from that awkward situation, but put into another scene, which depicts a New York fire department as a lazy, incompetent, impatient people. This is clear when Sam and James are just walking into a building, and there's nothing going on. Actually, everybody in this scene looks fucking bored. What's wrong? Isn't a fire supposed to be intense? And as they casually stroll into the building to save civilians, they crack jokes, take their time, and just do all the right things at like all the convenient times, just to, and they have enough time at the end of it all to belittle a morbidly obese man. This will ultimately result in a fart joke, because morbid obesity is funny. I mean, does Kevin James have any room to talk? After a plain display of product placement, which I feel makes it look less appetizing, Kevin James is noted as a lovable loser of the story, who has a dead wife. It's never a rhyme or reason why she died, but I'm imagining Kevin James ate her. Take that, you miserable fucks. He succeeds by his flamboyant son and his tomboy daughter, who portray their stereotypes as much to a scary degree. It's both uncomfortable to watch and absurd. There's nothing wrong with having an interest in theater and the arts. I mean, look at me. Kevin James has freak children, and in this scene is topped with a really pointless and silly automatic phone service joke. Sadly, I would take this joke over any other later jokes. This ultimately follows in what we'll call the plot. Apparently, Kevin James is too stupid to manage his life insurance policies and change the beneficiaries over to his fucking children. Talk about his shit dad. Well, in whatever weird universe this is, he cannot just switch that over. I mean, instead of doing something logical like pressing on with a lawyer, because that's what people are insurance for to begin with, he hatches a dumb scheme involving him to be gay. And this doesn't make any sense on so many levels. I mean, why did you have to go the gay route? They attempt to fill in the plot hole later in the film to say it was just an act of trust for Chuck. But throughout the film, women are seen as genuinely interested in both of them. Why would you risk employment, family, lifestyle, all these things you built your life on when you can make such more straightforward options? I'm not saying that being gay is wrong. I'm simply saying that if you've developed a life where you're already straight for like good 30, 40 years, why are you going to try to change all that shit in the process just to make something change? Get fucking married. These women are pretty attractive. If you wanted to work, there's many other scenarios you could have used anyway. Fraud shouldn't be your first option, asshole. But to make the story work, they decided to play gay and obtain a domestic partnership. This, of course, is padded with numerous repulsive moments of product placement. After saving Chuck's life, Larry begs him to play gay, which he reluctantly agrees. Also, in this universe, women are so desperate that they'll come in drones of dozens just to get Sandler's dick. Why am I watching this again? The two soon move into each other's house and rightfully investigated by the IRS due to the sudden change of, them being gay and all. The scene where they are met by the IRS is one of the sickest forms of modern homophobia. They of course attempt to sound natural, but in the process they not only claim that Larry simply became gay, but used gay and faggot so casually that it is hard to imagine a sensible person would actually support this garbage on film. And this is a type of juvenile middle school locker room humor that is carried out for the remainder of the fucking film. That doesn't work this way, dipshits. If you spray a person with a fucking fire extinguisher in the face, they'd probably suffocate and fucking die. I'm sure any well-to-do firefighter would be well aware of the risk of shooting someone in the fucking face with one of these things. After it becomes clear that they are investigated by the recent domestic partnership, they hire a lawyer in which she suggests that they go up to Canada, jolly good old Canada, and become officially married, which follows is probably one of the sickest acts of racism in modern America. While visiting Canada, they decide to get married in one of those drive-through wedding chapels. This is where we meet Rob Schneider's racist character in the film, which is no less more than Schneider in Yellowface. The uniform wouldn't be complete without the stereotypical mispronunciation of ours and the utter confusion of American customs. He also sports a bowl haircut and has synthetic eyelids. This is where modern cinema strikes an all-time low, and this is where I draw a fucking line. This is also, sadly, the highest point in the film, because after this shocking racist scene, we are introduced to possibly the best character in all of cinematic history. He, of course, is ruined by a pointless body injury gag. It's like they don't want to have a joke that works in this film. So whatever. The joke could have been there, but it was ruined by Sandler and his stupid fucking writing. Hey, more product placement. So, the next 20 minutes consist of gag after agonizing gag. These two morons adjusting to living together as a gay couple. This could be done right. For example, they could throw a block party to attempt to prove they're gay, play some Wham or George Michael, and attempt to, play the stereotypes, but not play to such a degree where they're like, nobody calls things like balls and wieners and shit like that. That's not normal. People don't think gay people do that. Well, maybe Adam Sandler does. And while this is mildly hinted at that they would do something like this, it's saturated with jokes retaining the bananas in shampoo. Because everything can be considered gay in the right light. I mean, did every joke in this film have to retain the gay people? One of the most horrific things I've seen in this whole film is retains to Larry's children being shown pornography by Chuck. Not only is it little elementary school babies, but the fact that they flipped the magazine open to some random page is even more disturbing. Don't get me wrong, showing babies porn is not right, but imagine the page is being turned to fucking goddamn bestiality. It's not hard to expect coming from a man who tries to make sisters kiss each other. This is just a horrible fucking thing to subject babies to. Someone call fucking CPS! This of course wouldn't be complete without a dead wife joke. Is it me or just Chuck a fucking dick? Even though he has no reason to care about the dead wife, we expect that he has a backstory or something. So why would you call out on such things? It's a fucking best friend's dead wife. Why would you do that? So this proves that Chuck is probably one of the most unlikable people in cinematic history. After a day of shopping, Chuck bumps into his hot lawyer, and through flirting, he and his husband are invited to a gay fundraiser that evening. This will be a stereotypical fair full of dancing people, apple martinis, David Spade, and Pet Shop Boys. Because that's what all gay people do, I guess. Not everybody in this world needs to be so flamboyant and flaming to assure the audience that they are gay. It simply broadens the stereotype. This also gives us plenty of time to hear things like this.
Who's pitching and who's catching?
I mean, do we really need that mental picture, people? Immediately after all this, we're introduced to a low-ball resolution which a group of religious nutjobs attack the partygoers. Adam Sandler, being the big man like he is, punches the shit out of the leader after they call him a faggot. Which is weird because, you know, he's been using faggot so freely throughout the film. So, all of a sudden, in a change of heart, he becomes even more clear, and James goes to a kid's school career day. Suddenly, all the population is homophobic twats. And meanwhile, before this, everybody was like all gay-friendly, gay, cool, all that stuff. What kind of fucking world is this? I mean, is it opposite day? Oh yeah, and the scene concludes with more consequenceless violence, ball punching, and unresolved story. Perfect. And then we're of course subjected to a weird 5-minute scene in which men's asses and Ving Rhames drop the soap, which the camera proudly shifts to his ass crack reading the tattoos in full detail. The point of this scene is really supposed to be a joke, I guess, but the other part of the scene might be Sandler's fascination with men's asses. Mr. Sandler, are you gay? We're almost there, folks, and nearly clocking in at 2 hours. This stinker has already given us all the resources we need to finally just drop this fucking film entirely. Sandler gets a little too friendly with his lawyer friend, and the setup is really coming out of the closet. And the two assholes resolve their differences and swallow their pride. And after a quick resolution, we finally get to the big gay ending, in which that they are challenged by this guy from Reservoir Dogs. Weird casting choice. And they pass with flying colors. Of course, Dan Aykroyd returns from Saturn to ruin the whole fucking thing. And after being lied to by these clowns, the whole gay community accepts them. And they do the whole conclusion thing where they all back them up, you know, where they all stand up at the lawyer, judge, and everything, and the judge bounce on the little thing, goes, order, order. Everybody just stands and says, I'm going with them if they go anywhere. Of course, everybody gets off scot-free, and they get put in some gay calendar. And, that's about it. Seems like all the shit they went through resulted in nothing. I mean, if you think about it, Chuck and Larry are still technically married in Canada. So, I mean, and ultimately at the end, Adam Sandler, of course, gets with this hot woman. Yeah, right? You know? So, he's supposed to be with her, and he gets the girl in the end and all that, but meanwhile, he's married in Canada. Talk about awkward, especially since it's with a man and she's a girl. So, what's that shit called again? Oh yeah, polygamy. Would you expect Adam Sandler as a regular Joseph fucking Smith? So is this movie bad? Well, yeah, it was pretty bad. It was actually probably one of the more horrible things I've had to sit through and endure. Especially for it being 2 hours, which is a little too long for this type of film. Now, even all Adam Sandler films are a little too long. But what I'm trying to get to is that this film just doesn't do what it's meant to do, and the whole idea behind it and stuff is supposed to be this sympathetic, nice, sweet tale where everybody, you know, ultimately gets, you know, happy in the end. Everything works out. It's a fucking fairy tale and shit, and all those asshole religious fanatics or fucks and stuff, which they are. But the thing is, throughout the whole fucking film, we're subjected to faggot, gay, talking about fruit, talking about all this shit, which are all these big, broad and gay stereotypes that only like 13-year-olds use now. And for some reason, they think it's funny, and they made jokes and attempt to make jokes in the process. But the thing is, it isn't funny. If you're trying to appeal to an audience that wants to help gay people or support gay people, it kind of is fucking juvenile and kind of makes you look like a fucking idiot. You don't know what you're talking about, and you don't know how to promote the idea of helping the cause. Instead, you're just broadening and deepening the whole fucking stereotype. So, what kind of film is this? It's an absolute pure shit film, and I suggest you never watch it. Especially you don't want to see Ving Rhames' ass for 5 minutes, and which has tattoos all over it. God damn it, I'm glad I didn't have to put this in that video. So seriously, cut the shit, Adam Sandler. I'm tired of your fucking fake sympathy and all that shit. So, get over your high horse, get over yourself. And you know what? Why don't you try to make something a little substantial? And if you actually care about something, at least try to put some effort into it. Because I really don't think I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry was your masterpiece. I really don't think you went into the office thinking at the first day that you were doing this that this is going to be a masterpiece. You don't think about those things. Start thinking about those things. What's wrong with you? Especially for someone that makes so much money as you do, I'm hoping that you could at least put a little bit of effort into what you do. But that's just a note to Adam Sandler, which I doubt he'll actually see this. But if he does, I'm glad to say on behalf of most film goers that actually give a shit about things, we fucking hate you. So make something good. Anyway, other than that, was Chuck and Larry good? Absolutely fucking not. Never see it. Please don't. It just make you dumb. Believe me. Anyway, this has been Tyler, Ron Reviews, signing out, bitches.